We all do know that one major objective that the Akufo-Addo-led government or administration set for itself is to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. We have to ask some questions, especially or a premise on the fact that the current Minister for Sanitation says that achievement is now pegged at 85%, and for any score rating that will be an A. But we also need to ask the perspective
of actually an A class, isn't it? Depending on the
school, actually.
Yes.
Depends on the grading system. So now we need to ask the questions. Are we really at 85% cleaning stage of our city, and have we done or achieved as we said we would? It's a big question.
Yeah, absolutely. But first, we want to remind ourselves of what the minister said again. So here we go with Sanitation Minister and what she alleges now, that their objectives of making Accra the cleanest city is now at 85%.
We are here to assess the situation of environmental cleanliness and general sanitation, because we are doing sanitation or cleaning every day. But some issues like clogging the drains becomes a bigger issue for the residents. Hence the presence of Zoom Lion and the squad or team, the military, to assess the situation, because normally we work hand in hand with them, and then the assembly also. So we came here this morning to assess the situation and to make sure the drains are rid of these plastics, because if they are not removed, access for water flow will be difficult. Yes.
And one of the promises and elections was to make Accra the cleanest city.
Yes, and you saw it during the lockdown.
Yes. And how far would that promise?
I will give it 85%, because at the end of the day, you all saw the 100% we did during the lockdown. So who makes Accra dirty? Us. That's why we are every day sensitizing people to make sure. I'm telling you, I know you will quote it, and I insist it's 85. You will rate it maybe 100%. Thank you.
What do you make of the minister's rating? She said she knew that we were going to quote it. Yes, indeed, she's the Minister of Sanitation. What's your own assessment of the situation? Is it 85%? Is it an A? Is it an A plus? You can join us later on. But Roland, we've got some, we have Nancy Emafajradosi joining us from Chorkor, but we do have some people that we'll be talking to as well.
Yes,
Roland.
definitely. We'll try as much as possible get to the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. They tend to do the environmental inspection. Emmanuel Adade is a water and sanitation and health expert. They do the monitoring. They get to look at what really is going on within the communities, and how well the agencies of state and those in the private sector should be coordinating to make sure if we go by the number 85%, would have achieved in that. Okay, so Emmanuel, thank you for joining me.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to you and all your viewers.
Yeah. So myself and Mamavi will try to ask some questions. I know Mamavi doesn't have...
I've got a first question, though.
Yeah, great.
How does 100% clean city look like?
That is the best question I think that has come out this morning, because it depends on how what parameters you are looking to do the assessment. If you ask me, 100% sanitation is where all the drains are very clean and most of them even covered, where we have sustainable systems in place to always ensure that those drains are clean. All the rubbish and refuse and waste that you see have some systems that are sustainable, that are self-monitoring, right? I don't think if you organize regular cleanups in communities, that is the solution to the problem, because people will still go back and litter. So where are the laws? How are we enforcing them? What are the systems in place to ensure that people even don't dare to litter? How often do waste management service providers, evacuate the waste as they accumulate in the cities? Look at the drains. People have even connected their household effluent into the drains, and sometimes even their toilets, they flush directly into drains. Look at the Odo River. How clean is it? can't it be like a tourist site where people go and be cruising for recreation? These are some of the parameters that some of us look for. And also everybody having access to decent household toilets so that they will not be compelled to go queuing at public toilets, or even worse still, to go defecating in the bush or along the drains or at the seashore. These are some of the things that some of us look for in the cleanest city. But today's very particular question, I don't know what parameters that government, or let me say the minister, is using.
But here's something that's very familiar from what you've narrated. Everything that you've said is actually what, from my point of view, we are experiencing here in this city. What you said shouldn't be happening is what is happening. So let's use your own assessment, because you do a lot of monitoring. Rates us in terms of this city today, Accra.
In my own assessment, I don't even believe we are up to 25% clean. If we are talking about cleanest city in Africa, there are much cleaner cities on the continent than what we have in Accra. We have Pretoria, Johannesburg, Kigali. I mean, all these cities, we don't match them in any way. So I don't think we are cleanest now. And if I was to monitor and rate, I would not give it beyond 30%.
30%?
30.
Okay. But do you appreciate the parameters that she used, though?
That is what I don't know yet, because based on the clip that we just saw, I don't know which parameters she used. But then she seems to be making reference to cleanups where we clean and you see all the compound, the whole community, the whole area clean. That one, yes, you can see that everything is clean, so it's 100%. But you leave it behind, and for minutes or maybe for some few hours, you see the rubbish back into the drains, back into the streets. You see people continuing to litter. So I don't know which parameters she used, but if the parameters was just about mobilizing people to clean an area within some few hours or within a few days, well, she could be right, but some of us don't see it that way if we want the city to be the cleanest.
She did make reference to when the city was under lockdown, and did mention that we got to 100% then because the entire city was clean. Would you agree with that assessment?
That is my confusion, because when there's lockdown and within 2-3 weeks, you mobilize people to clean areas, you would definitely see that the place is clean. Why? Because people are not allowed to be walking about, or to be hawking, or to be trading, and so on, transacting businesses. So obviously the place will look clean. But even that one, what systems were left behind so that when people return, the place will continue to be clean? That is the question yet to be answered.
So what's our problem? What is failing us? Is it the lack of systems, or is it the people?
Well, a combination of the people and the system. But always I want to blame it on the systems, because when the systems are there and they are right, people will not have the chance, or people will not even dare to continue to litter.
What kind of systems do we need again? We have a sanitation ministry.
Yeah, the ministry is there, but the ministry needs to be supported with an agency that is always on the ground monitoring people. The ministry should have an agency that has the mandate or the power to enforce the laws. The ministry should have systems or service providers that are always on the ground doing the work. So yes, there should be systems in providing, let's say, toilets to every house, or ensuring that every house has a decent toilet. There should be systems in place where as soon as you litter, there's somebody there to arrest you and prosecute you. There should be systems where systematically, let's say, all our drains are covered such that you will not even see the litter in them. There should be systems in place for waste collection, transportation, treatment, and final disposal. All these systems are not yet fully in place, though there are some systems in place. That is why I rate it around 30%, because these are not adequate systems. You see, I think that's the other rain that drain or the river that we are seeing there. Elsewhere in the cleaner city, this will be a tourist site where people will be using boats and so on to be holidaying there. for tourists for the tourism industry to also be earning. But what we see there is like periodic dredging, and then after a few weeks, all the filth and the silt are back. These are not the systems that we are looking for.
Okay, what we are seeing is live visuals actually from Chorkor, Chimwena. So this is a current situation. This is live, as in today. And that's what you're talking about. If indeed this was the cleanest city, then we shouldn't be seeing this.
Exactly. No clean city will be witnessing this kind of situation. This is a very beautiful natural resource if we had taken very good care of it. And all of us would like to maybe spend our Saturdays there, drinking or taking some kebabs and cruising. But this situation, when you are passing by, you want to run so that you run away from the stench. And that cannot be the cleanest city I think that Ghanaians deserve.
Well, we will come back to you, Mr. Adade. Stay with us. You're with us throughout on this conversation. I want to link up with my colleague, Nancy Emefajiradosi, who is live from Chorkor now. She was bringing us those visuals, of course. Nancy, what can you report? We've seen the visuals. Tell us about the situation on the ground. Can you stand it, though? Because even when you're driving through, you're sitting in the vehicle, you want the vehicle to quickly pass.
Well, Mama Viso, as she said earlier, we are right here at Chimwena. It took us some 20 minutes from the office to get here, and we decided to observe the sanitation situation on our way here. Well, at some instances, we saw some Zoom Lion vehicles people sweeping the roadside and all. There were also some parts where you will still find gutters filled and choked with rubbish. But we decided to come here to Chimwena because you know that AM show, we've been here several times. I remember 2 years ago, we were here. We heard from residents, we heard from the people who actually take care of this garbage that is behind me. Today, I've been able to locate the same man. I want to find out from him. It's been 2 years since I came here, whether the sanitation situation has improved. And I mean, some of these people living here in Chorkor also go out of their neighborhood. So we just want to really assess what they think has been done, because the minister says 85% of the president's promise has been fulfilled. So let me speak to the gentleman around me, and then please come closer to me, and then let me speak to you. All right, Mpacho Medase, good morning. Now, Menowo Ekasa 2 years ago, when I was operator of this way, 2 years ago, complaining about the sanitation situation. Now, ene Menowo Kase, we okay. There was an improvement abim.
Accra. But in the Jamima, they were going to I didn't chance, I didn't now your body go from Camina down in Baku Kanwa. In Quebec, me container and Baku Kan, Quebec, my ever one legume. At this time, environment in the Yesni Festival. There was a township bridge in Caution, so many no more Gwini, as I know money in a film.
Now, then now doing say air account, is it saying Cofona na ABCC education no air cord down more someone I said then now doing say because when I watch na check then now doing say ACI ma and Cofona sisa.
The meet magan say insurance no say ampoano no say we nyankofo gina onuma sha onu mpo 2 ball and go say nkofo bi gina as I think of no mo hwe say on so nye clean a be fine won you mo so la machin the ball and nanti consume and so to me I de oba de me wa it just on first come by the enye nti so munya chance fe wo ni ko to ni mutu ni a ball like good for me better o just here na o match and na match do mutumi so at any time nti enyo bi o hwe ho ni etua nke month dia mu say I be fine you try ha nyina o so hwe obi gina ho na o control sa ho na ball and concern so no sa.
Let me just briefly translate what he's saying. So he's saying that 2 years ago, yes, he complained that the place was very filthy, but he says that there's been an improvement. One, because people are beginning to change. He says years ago, people throw rubbish all about. He comes to work at dawn and he finds people throwing rubbish into the lagoon. But today, the situation is still the same, but he feels that there's been a general improvement. He's just wishing that there will be more sunny guards around to ensure that, you know, they are able to check people, because it's an attitudinal problem according to him. But I have other residents, let me also just engage them to find out. How many years have you been living here?
Oh, I'm here only 2 weeks now.
Oh, you've been here for only 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Generally, it's been 2 weeks, but what do you make of the sanitation situation here at Chimoina?
Actually, for now, I can see improvement is coming.
How do you see there's an improvement when you've been here for only 2 weeks?
But sanitation, so far, Mr. say is the Nyama via the Oboko. But it's a question
you maybe say what now for 2 weeks? Now 2 weeks, no buy, but not Chimoina no. What share sanitation situation now? What chrome her at the same amount?
Oh, but maybe Bahano, not me for the past 1 year. But me Bahano, me who say a bo because me by me who say machine a clear her over the Juma, Nami Krumsu, Minati Krum, Shatan who Crumbia debt biasa, first Unama, and from Accra, Buana, Farobana, Betawani, from my Faroba, now Beshava Tadi, new booting, and I say, Miss Shatan who's Anya Manu. Disaster music, say, Uhanina, I say, you see, machine actually hanging anti-bola, Musan, or Biaba, no, there be two top, no. This is content I am my Chelsea Cava, yes, in the first, no.
And to do said then, accounted for it in Cofor as a son, now said then the AC and Cofor differently from years ago.
Oh, they say my husband Cofor and Casano Mutium was say. Omo see the omo ye no first nenye is omuti omo ase say o see enye ni see ne be efe nti say omo kasa omo san so no afa bo na record bi omo datu is omo kasa no omo sorry na omo dia betum okay is obi didi kro fa rubber ntu form keke o de she ni hu ana okita o do that's been one no dia two ni na ema
okay, frozen.
But a friend is somewhere.
Okay, so someone is also saying that he's seen a general improvement. He says that at first people used to throw rubbish about indiscriminately, but the situation has changed. He doesn't feel like he doesn't see people just dropping rubbish just anywhere. So he feels that it is now that education is getting down to the ordinary Ghanaian. They are now beginning to understand the importance of sanitation. But I have someone who is quite relatively older, an older generation. Let me speak to him. Good morning. What's your first saying?
I'm Stofori.
Stofori.
Antonio.
Now, what's now? How many years ni?
Oh, about say 20 years ago.
Okay. And he said, "Okay, 20 years ago." Yankasa about Chimoina pe ebia Accra, the whole of Accra. Na Accra ye fina de bia ngofo bo de rose munja ye fina mo ye no. Ohwe de kaneno ene a. Obeka say insisa ye bia bemu ana.
Insisa abem kra before na ahaye fi papa obi also tumutol bola dugu what aim. This is a dago a bola e ba nu. One me ha e clean. Ndi ha ma is a hasasa.
Then into e basa.
Oh, before na chere container ni ha no. Ana obi aso na ode egum lagoon into ama is a album.
All right. So Mr. Fo is simply attributing this change to the fact that now a lot of waste bins have been introduced into the system. He says that at first you can go several miles and then you would not find a single dustbin, but now the availability of dustbins have caused or allowed for the improvement in our sanitation. He is speaking generally for residents living here at Chimoina. He says that it would even be better if they have more of the bins situated here. So Mama V, you can from here at Chimoina, people feel that well, their community here is clean. It's cleaner than before. It's cleaner than 2 years ago. And so they are relatively happy. And they are also saying that it's because residents have now understood the importance of sanitation.
Okay, great reporting there, Nancy Emefajradosi, live from Chorkor. Let's go back to Mr. Emmanuel Adade, who's the WASH expert with us this morning. What's your reaction to that conversation, the fact that the people say education is going down now, people are beginning to understand the whole concept of cleanliness?
That is very good news. It's a very welcome news because, yes, people have to understand the education has to go down very well to the people so that they understand or they know the reason why they don't have to litter about. That is welcome news. And I'm also happy that they are seeing an improvement in their environment. That is also welcome news. But we all saw the visuals as well, from our screens. And that is not an indication that we are 85% clean. For instance, that community, I don't know how it used to be in the past as they're referring to. But what we see now is nowhere near to a cleanest community. That is the point we are trying to make. But we are very happy that systems are being put in place. The education is going on. The people are beginning to understand, and even they themselves are requesting for more measures to be, instituted by, let's say, bringing in more inspectors around to be prosecuting people and so on. That is the kind of thing that we need. Those are some of the systems that we want to see in place. That should be very systematic to cover the whole city. We are not saying nothing is being done at all. Definitely, efforts are ongoing.
Okay, I was just going to say that, but we also have to be optimistic. We're not where we used to be last year, for instance, are we?
Exactly. No, definitely there's an improvement. The streets are cleaner today than probably what we saw 3 or 5 years ago. That is good. Yeah, that is good. But we also don't have to be over ambitious to say that we are almost there, while there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So in a nutshell, what I think is that there should be a roadmap of the system that we want to put in place and the timelines where we want to see the city as cleanest. You see, we are trying to measure the president over the 4 years that he promised. I don't think that can take us up to the 85%. It is a good ambition, but let's take our time as a country to have a roadmap, a national roadmap of making our cities the cleanest, so that we take our time to build on what we have been able to do today. Right.
So does it mean that from your perspective, this whole mission or vision of making Accra the cleanest city is just something that we've said? There's nothing on paper, is there?
I would not say there's nothing on paper. Definitely the government should have some plans, but I hardly see it as a time-bound plan. Because if it is time-bound, then we say that, okay, we are doing this over 4 years, or we are doing it over 8 years or 50 years. And these are the indicators that we are going to be monitoring along the path. I'm yet to see a comprehensive paper like that. But obviously, once there's budget for sanitation and there are some earmarked activities to be undertaken within the budget year, I wouldn't say there's nothing on paper. But I think we need something beyond just a national budget or an annual plan. There should be a comprehensive roadmap and even like a design of the city that we want to see, maybe in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years or so. We are yet to see such a design. We haven't yet seen a new plan for Accra that will make it the cleanest city.
Well, in other countries, like you take Egypt, they're building a new city altogether, investing a lot of money in that. So that's also one of the means. But the minister also did indicate that you compare the situation now, for which she pegged the rating at 85% and 100 for the lockdown period, and the situation that we're seeing with people's behavior, generally, that's got to do with why the city is what it is. Is it that you think that it is the enforcement that we need that is lacking, and so that is where we fall short?
Enforcement is a major factor. It's but one of the, I would say that's the most important factor. But then there are other factors as well. The funds that we want to allocate to solving this problem are not adequate. And also, as I said, there's no comprehensive plan. So it means you react to situations. When the rains are about to start, you quickly go and dredge the drains. That is not a systematic plan. What plan do we have to ensure that even the drains are not littered at all? So that maybe if you have to dredge, it will be just occasional thing, not just because of the fear that there's going to be rain. So yes, sensitization is also a very, very good factor. That should continue. But yesterday I was having some argument with some police officers who thought that COVID-19 awareness activities were no longer necessary because everybody is already aware. That is just similar to saying that people should stop going to church because everybody has already heard the word of God. We keep talking, but the moment we stop talking, the situation will be worse. So that is why sensitization must go on alongside enforcement, plus infrastructure development. These are the 3 key things that we need to put in place. There's infrastructure, there's a whole plan for waste collection, waste transportation, waste treatment, and waste disposal. You see it. If you don't have a plan along this value chain, there's nothing that we can do that will solve the problem. And if you have this beautiful full plan and then people are also misbehaving and we are not punishing them as a deterrent for others to follow, then we'll go back to square one, even with the infrastructure in place. And then sensitization, because always people have to be reminded to do the good thing. And that is human behavior. We can't do away with that. So these are the three core key things that we have to look for: enforcement, infrastructure, and also sensitization.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But that's been Emmanuel Adade, water and sanitation and health experts, and looking at the perspective of where we're coming from, where the Minister for Sanitation pegging how far we've achieved in getting our city clean to 85%. Yeah, it was 100%, she said, during the lockdown, which we know Accra was clean within no one was walking on the streets, but it also shows that, well, you have to get what it is.
We're grateful to Mr. Emmanuel Adade for the analysis and this conversation. We also we took you live to Chorkor when Nancy Emefajra Dosi also engaged some residents. Stay with us, the AM show.